What does a pharmacist do? Well, most people might answer that a pharmacist dispenses the medications that my doctor prescribes. Now, I work with a ton of great pharmacists, and one thing that I don't generally see is excitement about pills in a vial. And this is probably because pharmacists have been trained to do so much more. So what can you get excited about in your community? To find out, let's go beyond the scripts. Welcome back to Beyond Scripts. I'm your host, Will Tuft, the Director of Education at PioneerRx, and today I want to dive into kind of a side conversation for most pharmacists, most business owners in independent pharmacy, because branding is really something that has evolved a lot over the past, 100 years, I guess. As society kind of moved into a consumer culture, brands were a really important way to convey confidence in the quality of the product that you were going to purchase. And over the years, there's been, quite the shift through advertising, I think, mostly that brands became almost more of an identity and some way to connect with the consumer and the consumer to connect with the product. And one of the best examples I can think of over the past, few years would have to be like the Yeti coolers and their stickers that you see on the back of everybody's pickup truck. A sticker that says, "I bought a quality product, but more importantly, I identify with that. I'm outdoorsy, I'm recreational, I have expendable income, and we have these positive things in common." And it's a way for people to identify and connect. So how can a pharmacy take advantage of that connection in their community? How can a pharmacy convey that inclusion and say, "I'm local, I'm professional, and I can help you stay healthy"? So today I want to invite Michael Stout to join us and talk about that very topic at Table Rock Pharmacy. So Michael, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, guys. Excited to be here, talk about some marketing and some branding initiatives that we've done in the past and that we continue to do, and some of the struggles that we've seen from trying to kind of make a pharmacy cool. Because it's not like a craft beer where everyone wants to, wear your T-shirts or like put your logo on a sticker and put it on the back of your pickup truck.
Well, you say that, but one of the things that I notice on the Table Rock Pharmacy website, on the Instagram, is that awesome T-shirt that you're wearing right now. And when I saw that on Instagram and I saw the whole team wearing that, it does convey a bigger picture of, hey, this is a really cool team. And that kind of transcends the idea of pills in a bottle for sure.
Yeah, and that's what we wanted to kind of do. I mean, we have a logo that's been around since the inception of this business, which was my in-laws' business to start out about 30 years ago. And we didn't want to just get rid of that. And we've kind of thought about maybe refreshing it a little bit, but for the time we just kind of kept it. But we did want to create some other pieces that we felt like people would want to wear or kind of show off that kind of showed, our pharmacy in a kind of more hip manner. So which is why we made the T-shirt like we did. And we sell them in the store for super cheap, like $7-8 a shirt. And I give them away at like events and festivals that we sponsor. Every time I get someone to transfer in, like I've got a big poster that says transfer in, get a free T-shirt. And sometimes I have patients walk by and be like, where's my T-shirt? And I'll be like, well, this is kind of an initiative, that we're trying to get. So it is a kind of a balancing act, but most of the time they're cool with it. They don't really care that much about the T-shirt, but that has been that's just one part of us trying to further push the brand to make it, I guess more of a lifestyle, if you would, and that people feel like that's a cool enough T-shirt that I could wear in Morganton or, in public. With this one, we have a Table Rock that's part of Table Rock Pharmacy, and that's you can see it pretty much anywhere in town. It's a big landmark in the area. And there's a river that kind of runs down through it. And that's also a big landmark. So we sort of incorporated all those into design to try to make it look cool. But
yeah, that's
just kind of
that,
one area.
That's kind of a fun way to kind of tie in that community pride and allow your community to kind of support local business while, really taking pride in their own community. And so again, you kind of transcend advertising where it is that lifestyle, like, hey, it's about us. It's this community. It's authentic. And I think that authenticity is what's really kind of makes that work,
It does. I definitely think on any initiative, the more authentic you can be, the better. Stuff that we've done in the past that's been like heavily stock oriented with stock photography or stock video, it doesn't perform nearly as well as the stuff that's organic and, real life, shows our patients, we don't really show a lot of patients, but shows our employees, in the act of doing pharmacy or promoting products. So I definitely think that your best results are going to come from stuff that is organic, and it comes from your staff and comes from you. The regurgitated stuff, unfortunately, like the stuff that the paid promotions that people kind of get tied into, it's good that you're present, but I don't think it's the best you can do if you were to just allocate, a couple hours a week to try to push out some content that's just relevant just to your store and your staff and your community.
Yeah. I think advertising, especially, as we've gotten away from that kind of like mainstream culture where everybody's listening to the same, 10 radio stations, whatever genres there are, but everyone's listening to broadcast radio or watching broadcast TV. There's very limited channels of reaching people. Now there's so many different channels, and within that, people are really like drawn to authenticity, and maybe in the 90s in those other channels you might see, small business trying to look bigger and trying to compete with those bigger corporations and look big. And now you kind of see just the opposite. You see big corporations trying to look small and trying to replicate that authenticity and rarely doing it very well. But it's definitely a trend where that is an advantage that independent pharmacies, especially independent pharmacies that have been established in a community for a long time, have a lot of clout and a lot of gas in the tank to really, carry that message forward if they do it well.
Yeah, I don't have the statistics, but I know I've read some spending habit trends for the Gen X and Gen Ys, and I know they tend to skew more towards, they want to have more experience-based, purchases, and they also want to purchase things that are more local, and that feel like they're sort of making a difference with some of their spending habits. So I do think that independent pharmacy does kind of play into that and does kind of have an advantage to maybe some of your change, because there is I don't say there's like a resentment towards big companies, but there is a little bit. And not in all spaces, but some people do have. While they may still shop there, they may not like the idea that they shop there. Everyone goes to Walmart, but not everyone likes Walmart.
Right. Yeah. And that's a funny thing with branding too, is just how fickle that can be, or how much that changes based on what people get out of that brand. Right. Like people in a really small community, when you receive kind of that nod or that acknowledgement of, a franchise coming into the community, it's kind of a badge of pride. Like, oh, we're big enough to have this, recognized franchise here. Whereas in a bigger community, you're like, I'm not going to go to the recognized franchise. And so it is kind of funny how that can shift based on where you are in the perception. But But at any rate, I feel like you really have to have the services and goods to back that up as an independent pharmacy. So tell me a little bit about Table Rock and kind of where that fits into the local community.
Yeah. So like I said, it's a pretty established pharmacy. My in-laws started it from scratch. It was a medicine shop. And then they bought out that franchise license and turned it into Table Rock. And it's been that way for, I'm not sure the exact amount of time, at least 15 years. But then my wife and I bought it about 3.5 years ago from them. And they, my in-laws did a phenomenal job growing the business. Had a great patient base to start out with. But then, they were ready to retire, and they had kind of, they'd kind of gotten, I guess, not like slack, but they had just gotten a little complacent with some of their marketing initiatives. And that's, I was a freelance designer, kind of coming into the mix. We're in a small town in Western North Carolina. My wife and I moved from our jobs in Charlotte, and came up here to do this, just to run this business. And I didn't really know initially that I was going to have any role in the pharmacy. And then for the first 2 years, I think I just came in maybe twice a week and would kind of do book work and run payroll and then kind of help with the marketing. And then it kind of became more like, let's do more, and also I was kind of burning the candle at both ends. I had clients that were, pushing me to get stuff done, and I had stuff that I wanted to do at the pharmacy. So at the end of last year, about a year and a half ago, I decided we go all in, put all of our eggs in the pharmacy and really go for it. And it's been good because I've got added time to do other things. But some of the stuff we changed, like, my in-laws and the predecessors, they did a great job. They were advertising on radio with our local papers, and that was kind of a print and digital initiative that they were, contracted in. And when we took over, I robustly increased the design of those things, but didn't really see the results that, and a lot of stuff you can't see the results. Let me just kind of put that out there. We don't sell a lot of direct ROI services, like, click here, buy this now. Okay, great. That ad worked really well. We sold, X amount. A lot of these promotions are awareness-based or service-based things that you may not need at that very moment, but at least you're putting the seed out there that when you do need them, people remember you for that service. So lately, we've kind of steered away from more traditional avenues of marketing. We don't do very much print at all. We're not currently in a radio contract, but I'm not against radio, and I do think there is, especially in smaller towns, there is a lot of people that listen to just a select amount of radio stations.
Sure.
You think you just kind of have to have, I kind of like to have something going on that I can kind of really push, like flu shots, or I don't like just kind of blanket service statements. I like to kind of narrow it down. Free delivery is a good one. And I've got a couple scripts that I'm working on right now, actually, to push out to our local radio station that really kind of hones in on just some individual services to try to just promote those awareness things. But mostly we spend all of our marketing budgets on the phone because it's...
Oh, really?
Everyone's face is buried in their phone, and they're, and they're all on Facebook, they're all on Instagram, they're all on... Well, not everyone is on Facebook and Instagram, but there's a good chunk. And now, pretty much all your boomers are now on Facebook. And that's going to be your next aging demographic. So we do spend a lot of time promoting that sector. I've pretty much always got a set of core service ads that, and I kind of tweak the creative, the design of them a little bit, like every month, and kind of just so it's something new. That's always running, that promotes delivery, our adherence packaging, and then some of our COVID testing. We always run COVID testing ads ever since the pandemic, and that's actually one thing that you can see kind of a direct ROI because we can put links to click through to our, our online scheduler where you can see that traffic's actually coming through like certain ads, which has been good. Yeah. The birth control, we just started doing that in North Carolina, which is select pharmacists, can go undergo training and prescribe birth controls or certain birth controls now. So we've got like a pretty good ad presence for birth control prescribing, try to like promote awareness and kind of, we haven't seen a ton of traffic, but we've got one today.
Okay.
And I just dropped all those ads like on Monday for that service set. So
what does that look like specifically? So like if I'm, maybe looking on scrolling through social media, Instagram or Facebook, am I going to see based on like my my GPS, like a targeted ad for immunizations, and then maybe later on that day I might see one that says, "Did you know we do adherence packaging?" So kind of different product based on.
So I don't do any like specified retargeting. Like a retargeted ad is where you'll initially push an ad to someone, and then at a certain time later, you retarget them. And retailers do this a lot, especially your online retailers. They'll pull your search history. They see that you're looking for a cooler, and then you learn away, and then they say the next time that you log in from that IP address or whatever, they'll hit you again with another ad for that cooler. So we don't do any like retargeting because we're just not e-commerce focused, but I do narrow down the demographics of what I'm trying to promote. Like with birth control, for instance, I don't want to push that to male, so it's female only. I don't want to push it to people, older than like 55. So it's really just 18 to like 45 females within a certain 10-mile radius of our store. And then you can even plug in like interest that I feel like are applicable to the people that we're trying to market this to. So I'd say like if you haven't played around with like the Facebook ads manager, like kind of give yourself a couple hours to kind of look through it. It's pretty intuitive. It can be a little overwhelming, but there's a lot of great, YouTube videos you can source to how to navigate it. I just don't, and it's a time constraint. We're in a unique spot where, my wife she kind of runs the front end of the show and manages all the RX side of things. And I kind of run the back end of the show and kind of manage, the bookkeeping and the HR and the marketing side. So we've kind of split our roles to where we can allocate time to do that, but not everyone is in that situation. But I do think you got to do something. Like don't just be complacent. If you can't do it yourself, hire somebody that can help you do it. Because people are constantly on their phone. All day, every day. So I think that for your emerging audience, I think that's a great way to promote yourself. So that's primarily what we do. I've looked at advertising with Hulu even. I haven't pulled the trigger on that, but it's something I'd kind of like to do this year. So we'll see.
Yeah, there's entire sections of the population that you're just not going to reach through, localized print or through like the radio. Like I took actually took the antenna off my car because I was like, it messes up the lines. It doesn't do anything. Like I'm not listening to the radio. So, I always have my streaming services of one thing, whether it's Spotify or, whether I'm looking on Instagram, but it's something that's going to be, social media, cellular based, not,
And you can't do, it is still good to appeal to your older demographic because they're not going to be, your 70 and 80 year olds probably aren't going to be on Facebook. Unless you're just pretty hip, but like, so you do need to try to market yourself. So we'll put stuff in our local senior center, and we'll still do like events. That's been one thing we've done this year. That's I mean, we haven't seen like another thing. We haven't seen immediate ROI results other than the people that I can get to transfer like right on the spot, which
Hmm.
I found is harder than it's in my mind. I was like, well, I'll just go out there and I'll just convince people to come to our store. But I mean, it's harder than you think just to pull people in there, even though they're not really tied to their pharmacy. Like, they don't want to just leave. So I haven't
Right.
perfect elevator pitch to be like, doesn't even though it doesn't take any work on their part, it's just a transfer. There's still some hesitation there that they don't want to commit.
Yeah.
But I do think like if you can engage in the public, in the community through events, and get yourself out there with a table and a tent, and I've got a bunch of flyers printed out that sort of outline all of our services, and I go out there and they'll be like, well, I'm kind of far away. Well, I'll be like, boom, here's a free delivery flyer, or like, here's a compounding flyer. And I'll kind of hit them with that. So any sales tools that you can kind of develop to help you, promote your ideas and your services are definitely helpful when you're in the community.
Yeah, so there's a couple aspects to that. It's not just advertising a special offer and hoping that converts to a transaction at the point of sale, but there's also that larger element of brand recognition and just building yourself as a cornerstone, so that when that need arrives, when that patient to be does have their first prescription, or when they do have a question, or when they're dissatisfied with the service that they got around the corner, they have that locked away, that brand recognition they saw on the billboard, they saw on Instagram, they hear playing on the radio at grandpa's house, and on the commercial, whatever it is, whatever that exposure. But I think that's a big part of it, not just advertising the service, but really establishing yourself in the community.
Yeah, I think so. And you kind of want to be cohesive kind of across the board. That's another thing that I try to do, not only from like a design aesthetic, but like a messaging too. So for us, like we kind of have this sort of subtle tagline it's like kind of like committed to your health. And I didn't trademark it, and I don't push it heavily. It's in our store, and it does end up on a lot of our ads. But we do want to be like committed to our patients' health and well-being. And that's something that I try to echo through a lot of our stuff that we put out there. Like we're not always like pushing, although we do have really competitive, cash prices. We're not always pushing like cheap cash prices, because a lot of people, they don't really pay much for their medicine. It's all run through insurance. So like for most folks, unless you're cash paying, cost isn't the biggest deciding factor. I mean, people do like free copays, if you can honor free copays, but we're not always able to do that like certain retailers are.
No, but I don't think that's the space that any business owner wants to really, race to the bottom of. Where you have so much more to offer than,
right. I mean, so we're just trying to keep growing ourselves as a destination for health and wellness. And I'm not a big, we're not a big supplement store, but it's areas that we like to grow. We've done a little bit to grow some of those areas in, but yeah, I do think you have to think about your big picture. Who do you want your audience to be? Like who are you trying to get in your pharmacy? Are you trying to get, the guys on Medicaid? Or are you trying to get the people that are going to come in and buy a $60 supplement bottle? Think about who your audience is. Think about like, can you even get that audience in your area? We're in kind of a rural area, North Carolina. It has a lower probably medium income than some of your metropolises are across the U.S. So we have to kind of keep that in mind when we're promoting ourselves and when we're stocking product, because certain things we stock, I can just tell you like that's not going to sell because people don't have that expendable income to buy it, especially right now when all they can think about is how much money they're putting in the gas tank.
So, with that being said, I can see where like the monthly educational classes that you guys offer, the diabetic education, you know, if you're able to take those products to meet your community where they are. Like I can imagine, being set up at the local farmers market with your delivery car behind you, and you have your booth set up, and you're just talking to people, and
Yeah,
yeah,
that's one of our that was one of our sponsorships this year was the farmers market. And we were kind of debating. We have a local concert series every Friday night in our town. That there's a little amphitheater in town, and we were debating on doing that or the farmers market, but we felt like the farmers market was people. It's first in the morning, it's Saturday, so they're in a pretty good mood. They're like at the farmers market, so it's a good spot to sort of reach out to people. And they typically will give you a little bit more time. And even if they don't convert right there, they see you in their community, kind of and they're associating you with like a good, wholesome environment, like the farmers market.
yeah.
So that's a good like association to have.
No, I feel like that's your target. Like your target base, those are people who are okay with paying a little bit more for a quality product, who care about what they're getting, who are, a discerning customer who wants quality and takes pride in local business. I mean, that's perfect. A lot of times, that age demographic too is going to overlap perfectly with some of the products that you offer. So
Yeah. It's been good. I mean, it's a little bit of a commitment because it's Saturday and you work all week, and some people even are working on Saturday, so it's like one more day to kind of get your stuff together, but it's short-lived. It's just for the summer, and it's worth it, I think.
Yeah, and those are also fun too.
Yeah. I mean, we'll go and we don't, we're not a vendor. I mean, we're a sponsor, so I don't feel like I have to still stay there, all day. I'll go for a couple hours and then break it down. Then I'll go shop the farmers market and go home.
Sure.
And my wife's been we've been vaccinating at the farmers market. I mean, it's not like lined up out the door, but we vaccinate a couple people, boost them here and there, and they really like that. And we've taken like A1, not A1C, but like blood sugar. And blood pressure monitoring, and done that as well. It's just a way to kind of, and I also come with like free stuff, like free samples that I get from suppliers. I'll just kind of throw them in a bucket, and then I'll bring them all out there. So like I've got a lot of free sunscreen samples right now, so that's like really pertinent. It's hot, especially sun's coming up. I'll take koozies and pins, just anything to kind of lure them in,
That's what I was about to ask. If you're at a farmer's market, how do you compete with the like pralines or the, the nice produce right across from you?
I bring a sampling of products. I bring like a little bit of like local honey, although there's a honey lady next to me that probably hates me. And then I bring like sunscreen, CBD, just like a small sampling of things, just to see. Like the sunscreen's like it's hot, so don't forget to bring it. And it's Saturday.
That's a really good idea.
And like last week, I think I sold like 4 or 5 bottles of sunscreen. It's good to just kind of have a couple things on the table. But yeah, usually I'm just trying to like, hey, would you want a free sample? You want a koozie? And then I'll just ask them, where they get the medicine, and then I'll ask them, have you ever thought about, like, are you happy with it? And a lot of times they say, well, not really. And then that's when I try to sell them through. And those are conversations you don't get to have anywhere else.
No.
And that's like awesome one-on-one, marketing. And then from that point on, it's all on you to sell it. But you can't have that with any other promoted marketing that you're going to do, like through print or digital or video, because right there you're interacting with a potential lead or customer.
Yeah, for sure. So you guys have like a whole host of enhanced services that you guys offer: medication synchronization, adherence packaging, compounding, educational opportunities, immunizations, DME, travel consulting, CMRs. So you guys do kind of have a whole host of things that you're able to offer. Are you able to, get that message across when you have patients who are, competing in an Amazon world? Maybe they've tried the Amazon adherence packaging and haven't been happy with the service, or how are you able to compete with in an online space with those online competitors?
I can't say I've like actually spoken to someone that's been like a pill pack customer, like actually, and then stopped. More common than not, it's like, well, my insurance has forced me to mail order. I would prefer to be at a local pharmacy, but all my drugs are free through mail order. Which you kind of have to just sometimes you just don't know what their drugs are going to be. I mean, they're going to have a copay on most cases, but
Sure.
It's typically going to be pretty inexpensive. So you just kind of have to just tell them that, well, look what you're getting in your current situation versus what you could be getting if you were to come to us. And I try to sell through that, like, we have a full staff and that we're going to take the time to help you to understand your medications, plus the array of expanded services that we offer whenever you may need them. And then we don't limit those to patients. Those are available to anybody. Certainly if, COVID was great because we had all these non-patients come in that eventually, initially we were so kind of flustered with vaccines and testing. We didn't even think about it because we're so busy. But then as things kind of tapered down a little bit, we had some lulls. We were like, we should be aggressively going after these people that are not in our system. Why are,
Sure.
we're just letting leads come in and go out the door. So then we started everyone that would come in for a COVID test or a vaccine, we started putting marketing material right there at the vaccine table. We kind of dedicated the back of our store. We have a small room, and it's just now it's just the vaccine area. There's another waiting area, and we kind of have an intake station. Then we had the room where we, issue vaccines, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon. So it looks like that's just going to stay there. But so any patients that come through that are not your patients that may come in for a COVID test or a COVID vaccine, get after them. And if they're not a patient, ask them why they're not a patient. Ask them if they'd ever consider coming to you. So that's one thing. And we've had a couple people turn over, and we've had a couple people say, not right now, but then they come back around.
Yeah.
So, definitely reach out there. I noticed, I think I'm not sure if it was on this series, but another series that we were watching, someone had made a great comment about all the email addresses that you've been collecting through your online signups for testing or vaccines. A lot of people use JotForm or Acuity for an online scheduler, which is kind of, and that's sort of become a whole new service scheduler for independent pharmacies. Now we've listed all of our, our Med D consults or Part B consults, and basically, our birth controls, our testing, our vaccines. So anything that is a service, you can kind of sign up for it now, which is good because people can go there and they can make an appointment. But it also forces them to put their information in, including their email. So if you've got, if you're with Digital Pharmacist or if you're with Rx Local,
Yep.
You've probably got a newsletter feature, and you can probably add manually add email addresses. So recently we just dumped 2,000 email addresses or more from all those signups over the years into our newsletter. And then we put giant, give us a 5-star review, right at the top of our newsletter, and have really really boosted our reviews online. That's been another big initiative because those reviews really, it's not completely based on how you rank, but it's a big chunk of it. If you've got a lot of positive reviews in your area, it definitely plays in your favor on your SEO ranking when people type in, location
Sure.
pharmacy. So we've been compensating our staff. Well, initially it started out, we paid our staff, every time we got a review, we give them a Starbucks gift card. But that kind of started to get expensive because we really started to get a lot of reviews. So now we just done it to it's a once a week thing. As long as we get a 5-star review, sometime during the week, we'll give our staff all gift cards for free coffee. And that's kind of helped because we've got cards around the pharmacy with a QR code that says have a good experience, leave us a review, and they can snap a picture and then give us a review. So that's been a good way to really try to boost our reviews. And we've also added to our newsletter, to follow us on social media, and then we've also just recently added to our expanded services to go on basically to our Acuity landing page where you can see all of our itemized services and sign up there. So I think just any way you can find. And the good thing about a lot of these are it's low cost. Billboards is going to run you depending on your market, $5 to $1,000 a month for high traffic billboards. Radio it's still pretty expensive, and TV's even higher. But a lot of digital advertising is cheap, and it's like I said, people spend a lot of time looking down at their phone. So I definitely think it's a good bang for your buck, and you can really narrow it down specifically to who you're targeting. If you're running a free delivery ad, let's target your older demographic, and that's the kind of the beauty of digital these days. It's just the targeting.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that when you mentioned the open enrollment consults. Being able to target that very specific demographic with a solution that they're probably stressing about, and that can be the difference between you losing a patient, if they end up on a plan that makes them go mail order, versus retaining or gaining a patient. Yeah,
or better yet, it's just helping them pick a plan that is profitable to your pharmacy. There are softwares out there that can show you. I think everyone probably knows what I'm talking about. I don't know if are we allowed to name names here?
Oh yeah. If you found something that works for you, I'd love to share those successes.
I think there's really one. It's just Amplicare, and Amplicare sells it you're going to get a lot of a bang out of it all year round. We don't get as much bang out of it all year round, but we do get a good bang for its buck come open enrollment, because it is a robust program that allows you to see every plan, tailored to their drugs specifically, and then can give them a real easy, digestible, price annually. And that's something you can't really get in a lot of places. Everywhere you go, most times, it's going to be a broker pushing a set number of plans. So you're not going to see the whole picture. And that's what we tell people that are interested in that service. And they seem really receptive to that idea that, that we're an unbiased opinion, basically. We're not selling insurance. We're just trying to keep their drugs cheap for them and profitable for us.
Yeah. Well, everybody wants to have a guy in their corner, right? So to have my enrollment guy, a trusted person in my corner that's going to help me, that's great, because you don't know what you don't know. And I feel like there's probably, I can only imagine the, the stress of finding out you can't go to your pharmacy, you have to go mail order, or your copays change, and worrying about that. And, in the back of your head, having the story, the horror story from a friend of yours who it went poorly, they chose the wrong plan. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are a lot of people that, that do choose wrong plans. People that come in and we're on, I had one patient that's like, well, I just wanted to pick this plan. She was paying out of pocket every month for Eliquis. And I said, well, why'd you pick this plan? Well, that's the plan that my husband before he passed always liked. Right. I was like, well, plans change year to year. It's, and it changed based on your drugs. And so, yeah, people do need some education around that. That's definitely and it can really help your pharmacy if you can coach these people in your for a plan that meets their needs and a plan that meets your needs. Because there are definitely some loser plans out there from DR perspectives.
So you talked about meeting people in the community and kind of being, you know, an established brand there. You talked about kind of touching base with them on the, I guess, the web community and the web marketplaces. And then, you know, you also mentioned deliveries. And I think right now you're kind of riding a bit of online popularity with the recent NCPA NICE Award that is, you know, looking at your delivery service where you have really cool looking kind of union of your pharmacy services, your graphic design, your community engagement, your online representation of that. All of these things kind of came together with that one project in the NICE Award. So definitely want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So the delivery vehicle, we've always delivered for years, and I don't know when it started, but it's been around for a long time here. And it's always kind of been free, but before we came on board, it was kind of an under the table service. It was kind of like we deliver, but we don't want to make a big deal out of it. And when I came on, I was like, man, we should make a big deal out of this. And there were some reservations there. One, because they didn't hire staff for it, and two, because there was like some safety concerns, which are warranted for sure. You're riding around with a bunch of drugs. Sometimes they're controlled, and people are crazy about their controlled drugs.
Sure.
So I was like, well, let's kind of just see how it goes. And I was like, but I really think that the benefits outweigh the negatives. I mean, we've got a car that's on the road for, anywhere from 2 to 4 hours a day, riding all around town. Like, let's make sure people know, like, whose car that is. Like, that's just mobile advertising right there. You go in big cities, you see those trucks with the rolling banners that scroll through. So, I think it was definitely a good move. We ended up hiring a retired gentleman shortly after we kind of bought the business. So we didn't, because we were pulling techs away in the middle of the day, and sometimes it was just a big constraint from a workflow perspective. But our driver has been excellent, and I think half of our older female patients actually have a crush on him. Sometimes somebody else will go, or even I'll go run a delivery, and they'll be like, "Well, where's Dave?" Like, they're almost just mad that I'm there. It's like I'm like 30 years younger than Dave, and really. But it's been good, and we had a lot of fun wrapping the car. I've done a couple car wraps in previous projects, like in my other design background, but the delivery car was fun to do too, and it was awesome that I won an award for doing it, and I was really flattered to see that NCPA had chosen me for the NICE Award.
Yeah, it's a good looking wrap, man. And again, if you're going to have something driving around town, it definitely makes sense to have visibility for that. Hey, we're literally in your community, meeting you where you live. There's a cool visual to that. I would think if you are if you're looking out the window saying, I got to go to the pharmacy and pick up my drugs, and you see, you see the table rock car pull up at Martha's house across the street to deliver her medications to her. It's like, maybe I should be taking advantage of that. I mean, especially right now when, if I can save on gas, then I'm definitely going to do anything I can to save on gas.
Yeah. So delivery is an area that I definitely want to grow. I haven't, I've been looking at the GeriMed, the combo pharmacy program for, they've got a medical at home classification where you can sort of, get these patients scripts at a higher reimbursement rate without DIR fees. So we've been entertaining that, but there's a couple of mandates. They have to be, at home, receiving compliance packaging. You have to deliver to them is one of them. So we'd have to increase some of our deliveries because we don't deliver to all those patients, but we could force them to get delivery, and then we could potentially, bill their medicine at a better rate. But yeah, I think anything to set yourself apart. I mean, I know that some of the retail stores, I think most of them are doing delivery these days. I think pretty much everyone's doing free delivery. So I think you definitely want to be doing what your competitors are doing, and if you can find a way to do it a little bit better, then that's where you want to be. So we'll keep growing the delivery. It's not. I mean, some people, I've tried to convince them to get delivery, and they still just like come in the store, which is fine. I'd rather them come in anyway. But if someone's on the fence, like I find that's a good mail order rebuttal. Well, I've got mail order, and you're like, well, we've got free delivery, so if it's coming to your mailbox, we can take it to your door. So that's kind of been a good rebuttal for mail order for me in my conversations with people that are hesitant to transfer in because of that convenience of mail order.
Yeah. Are you guys offering any, like when you're planning that delivery, obviously for that to be efficient, a lot of things have to be in place. A MedSync program, to make sure that you're not making multiple deliveries. Adherence packaging is a great thing to offer, again, if you are looking at growing that program, as that is one of those requirements, but it's also really helpful for the patient. Are you expanding into, during that appointment-based kind of model that you're building for the delivery, offering those over-the-counter services? Hey, do you need anything from the from the retail side? Do you need paper towels?
I mean, we always ask that. We'll call to confirm deliveries, in the morning, and we always do ask, if there's anything else that they may need from the front. And sometimes we'll run them out, sometimes we don't. Most of our patients that are on delivery are sync patients, but we do keep tabs on them. We let them have one delivery per week. If they exceed more than one a week, we charge them a small delivery fee. And for some people, they kind of have to do it because unfortunately they don't have mobility. For others, they'll wait, but we don't see a lot of pushback from that. But we haven't I haven't really cross-trained my delivery driver to cross-sell a lot of stuff. That's one good area that I could probably kind of help him, persuade people if he sees an area. But he's a pretty good go-getter. Usually if he sees an opportunity, he'll speak up for us. So I think, that's definitely a good idea. Anywhere that you can cross-sell is an excellent solution. Another thing I've been doing just recently is I've been just kind of doing a little bit of detailing, just kind of dropping in, bringing donuts to offices that we've been trying to grow compounding, because it's cash based for the most part. So veterinary clinics, places that are dispensing hormones, these are things we target, and I'll just drop in and give them some swag and give them some materials to look over and maybe some samples of things that are applicable to their customer base. And I'll just pop in and out real quick. I don't try to sell it through or arrange a meeting, but I just want to kind of here's Table Rock Pharmacy, and here's something to leave with a good taste in your mouth. And that's kind of my goal there. And that's nothing new, but I do think it's important to do it on an annual or biannual basis to kind of go around and make amends with all of your prescribers so that they
for sure
are happy with you. Yeah.
Well, and everybody wants somebody in their corner. So, if there's a pharmacist that's going to help me reach my goals as a physician, or who's going to, allow me to, prescribe with confidence a specific, veterinarian compound. Like if I know I've got a guy that I can rely on, who's going to increase adherence, who's going to talk to those patients, it's really such a win-win situation, that it just makes sense to, make sure you nurture those relationships and let them know, hey, I've got solutions that can help you. And you're right, it doesn't have to be a major, hey, let's sit down and have a sales pitch and, or high pressure, but just, hey, I'm here for you and part of the community and, happy to serve.
Yeah, just give them something that give them something that's going to stick around and something for them to look over in their own time. I think like when I came on, I also kind of developed a good chunk of just some people call them slicks or one pagers to just kind of outline all of our services on a real high level. And I think that's good to have on hand that you can pass off to people when it comes up and throughout your conversations in the store or in public.
I actually thought about you this morning. I was getting ready and I was thinking about this podcast, and I saw sitting on my shelf like the Dollar Shave Club, and that was just such a great example of like, here's a utilitarian thing. There's nothing cool about, budget razors, but they've branded it in a certain way, and it pops up on my Instagram feed. Now that I've said it out loud, it's going to pop up today, I'm sure. But it's a utilitarian thing that I need, and there's nothing really cool about that product specifically. But they reached me online. They offer a product that's delivered, it's convenient, and they branded it in a way that makes you feel like it's something cool when it comes in. It's got like some nice graphic design. But they're able to fill that niche and kind of change the way you think about that product. And now these razor blades that cost nothing, they've turned it into a really great business. But again, they've just kind of changed the way people perceive that utilitarian product. And I think there's so many different areas of healthcare and medicine that they can kind of get that same treatment. Just make me think about it a little bit differently, right? Like, how many other of those utilitarian products can you just kind of recall the logo and think of like that? So.
Right. Or not necessarily make you think about it differently, but maybe put it in a format that's like fun to digest. So if you're going to talk about MedSync, it's kind of a boring topic, or you're going to talk about, so think about a way that you could sort of recreate those in a format like a reel, like an Instagram reel, that's going to have more of a hook, or it's going to be slightly quirky, that's going to make people chuckle and give them a chance to like remember that video about maybe it was kind of funny, or maybe it was just a little weird, but it's going to stick with them, so that's, and those are the ones that like we've gotten really good traction off of. Like I was just looking over, some of our posts and promoted posts in the past. And those ones that we've been a little comical on, but still serious and still presenting information, have definitely done the best over the ones that we've just been like really serious. And granted, it would look professional, but people just kind of just bore out, and people's attention spans, I think they're just getting shorter and shorter. And
definitely.
I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't think people are going to be able to concentrate beyond like 60 seconds in the next 10 years. So you got to keep it concise. And it needs to have some sort of like a hook, or some sort of like comic relief, so it sticks with them and that they want to remember it. And maybe it's so good they'll even share it. And that's the greatest free marketing you can get, when you're getting somebody to share your promoted content.
Or just share that visual of walking around town in a great looking, T-shirt that supports your community and your local businesses. Yeah.
You just always have to, be on your A game when you're wearing your pharmacy T-shirt.
Always on my A game.
Yeah. And just hope you don't sell it to like, somebody that's not on their A game.
And this one's not for you, buddy.
Yeah. You're not allowed to buy that shirt. Yeah. No, we never do that. Yeah. If they want the shirt, they can have the shirt. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to let you get back to work there. We're about out of time here.
Yeah, that was quick.
Yeah, I know. Time flies when you're having fun, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. This is great to talk to you guys. We're looking forward. Jesse and I are both headed down to the Connect conference next week, so maybe we'll see some faces there. But we do love Pioneer, and it's been a great add to our business. And happy to share anything else down the road.
All right. Can't wait to see you guys there. Make sure you bring me one of those in an extra large.
Yeah, I'll do it for sure. Got your name on it, Will.
All right, man. I'll see you next week then. And thanks for joining us. And everyone else, I'll see you here next time. Thank you for listening to this episode of Beyond the Scripts, presented by the Catalyst Pharmacy Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please support our channel by liking, subscribing, and clicking the notification bell so that you'll be notified anytime we post new content. To stay up to date with all of the latest independent pharmacy news and content, follow PioneerRx on your preferred social media platform.